This extraordinary story happened in the vastness of the Caribbean waters in 2018. A honeymoon is a beautiful thing, but sometimes events are not what they seem at first glance. Sometimes, under the guise of purity and light, people are doing dark deeds. Some even manage to escape justice, as happened in this case. Isabella Helman was born in Bogotá, Colombia, in November 1975. Her maiden name was Isabella Rodriguez. In the 90s, she moved to the United States of America, to the state of Florida. Despite not speaking English, she dreamed of attending a local college, so she put all her efforts into learning English. Even after learning the language, she retained a strong accent. However, this did not stop the determined girl from achieving her goals. As a result, she obtained citizenship, settled in a cozy apartment in the small resort town of sunny Florida, Palm Beach, and started working as a real estate agent. She quickly made friends who loved her for her cheerfulness, openness, and ability to live in the present. By February 2002, the girl married a man named William Helman. They were married for over 10 years, but over time, their relationship soured. In 2012, the couple filed for divorce. The process took some time and was finalized only by the end of summer 2014. During this period, the woman met a man named Lewis Bennett online, and they hit it off immediately. Her new love was born in April 1977 in Dorset, Great Britain. At an early age, he moved to Australia with his parents, where he later attended the University of Pangar. He had dual citizenship in Great Britain and Australia. Later, the guy continued his education, enrolling in the Camborne School of Mines. He specifically chose this direction to continue working in the relevant industry. From a young age, the guy was very capable. Just a few years after starting work, he opened his own business. Thus, in May 2011, a company producing solar panels in Australia was launched. By August 2015, his company called Next Generation was registered in Florida, United States of America. The man began to do business remotely there, and it was during this period that he met Isabella on a dating site. Their communication began as a brief internet fling, but their relationship blossomed rapidly. At that time, the business owner had never visited Florida, where his company's office was located. Nevertheless, the couple's relationship developed and they decided to meet. Isabella always traveled wherever she needed to go. For example, she flew to Great Britain, Australia, and Singapore. In November 2013, Lewis bought an 11-meter sailing catamaran. Initially, the boat was located in San Martin in the Caribbean Sea. Later, he registered his vessel in Australia. From there, he began to actively participate, visiting various places and countries on his catamaran. This did not prevent him from working and running his business. Isabella, thanks to this, also visited new countries. However, it is not known for sure who financed these events. It was quite strange for those around them that Isabella could afford to travel so often as could her boyfriend. Friends and acquaintances often asked where the money came from, since he was no longer really involved in business at that time. The man himself replied that he had received a certain amount of inheritance, enough for his favorite lifestyle. In July 2016, the couple had a daughter whom they named Amelia. The child's arrival brought unspeakable joy to the parents, but the couple was in no hurry to officially formalize their relationship. Over time, a rift began to develop between Lewis and Isabella. The relationship between the partners became more strained, conflicts occurred more often, and they had to seek common ground in things they hadn't even had to think about before. At the stage of raising their daughter, serious disagreements arose in the couple. The parents constantly argued about literally every little thing as soon as the conversation turned to their child. Isabella wanted to raise her daughter according to Colombian traditions, but Luis was against it and demanded his traditions be followed. Despite the problems, Luis wanted his beloved to move to Australia with the child. However, he couldn't persuade the woman to do so. She was against it. She liked life in Florida. This continued until January 2017, when the couple bought a condominium in a residential complex in Florida valued at $125,000. Later, they moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where their wedding ceremony took place. Their honeymoon was slightly delayed and began on April 30, 2017, when Isabella left her child with her relatives and flew to the island of St. Martin in the Caribbean Sea. It was assumed that this honeymoon would help to mend their relationship. At the same time, her husband flew in from Australia. His boat was located there. On April 8, the vessel was in the port of St. Martin. At the end of the month, the couple boarded the boat to embark on their long-awaited honeymoon, which, as they imagined, would be magical. But in the reality, it turned into a nightmare. According to reports and posts on social media, on May the 1st, the boat was in Puerto Rico, and on May the 2nd, it reached the British Virgin Islands. After that, Isabella didn't contact her loved ones for a long time. Only on May 14 did the woman call her relatives around 8:30 p.m. She said she was in Cuba and they were staying in the resort town of Varadero. After that, her husband set course for Florida, intending to dock in the port of Lottery or Key West. They hadn't decided exactly where their journey would end. After that, Isabella reported that the connection was bad and the satellite phone had been working intermittently for the past few days, so she hadn't been online for several days. She called her relatives as soon as she appeared and warned that there would also be connection problems in the coming days, so her relatives wouldn't worry. On the night of May 15, 2017, the United States Coast Guard received and saw signal. Lewis Bennett contacted them. He reported that he was about 50 kilometers from the Bahamas and was having problems. The man said that he had gone on a honeymoon with his wife and everything was fine at first. The day before, on May 14, he set the catamaran on autopilot and told his wife to keep an eye on the vessel. The captain himself went to sleep and asked to be woken up at 8 p.m. or if anything happened. However, no one woke him up. The man woke up only at night on May 15 from a strong impact underwater. The captain got up and checked the deck to understand what had happened. He looked for Isabella but couldn't find his wife. She seemed to have vanished. The boat began to slowly sink. Then the man gathered his belongings, deployed a life raft, and threw the flotation device overboard around 4 a.m. on May 15. A helicopter was sent to help find Lewis on his raft. The man was taken aboard and brought from international waters. After that, a search was conducted. They found a suitcase with belongings, 2 duffel bags, and a backpack. He also had signal flares with him. The man took about 60 liters of water, food, and some souvenirs that were purchased in Cuba. A search for a 41-year-old woman who could have been drifting somewhere at sea and needed help immediately began. In the following days, the Coast Guard sent several rescue helicopters and small vessels to organize the search for the catamaran and the missing woman. More than 5,000 square meters were covered, but the woman was never found. All of this was suspicious, as there were no reefs or rocks in the area where the boat sank that could have damaged the vessel so badly as to cause a rapid sinking. However, the catamaran itself was found. The vessel was indeed partially submerged, but had not yet sunk to the bottom. Thanks to this, it was possible to document, with the help of aerial photos and video footage, the catamaran, which was still on the surface. It was only partially inspected from the outside. Divers did not dare to inspect it from the inside, as it was very risky. The vessel could sink at any moment and drag them down with it. During the inspection from the outside, several important features were noted. First, the design of the boat and the extent of the damage it received would not have allowed it to sink in such a short time. The catamaran may have lost speed and control became difficult, but with such hull breaches, it was quite possible to reach the shore. It was unclear why the man panicked. This was reinforced by the fact that the catamaran is a fairly safe vessel, well suited for harsh conditions. Second, experts realized that the vessel had not collided with any obstacles and the damage had occurred only from inside the hull. This was obvious as the sheathing materials was deformed outward. There were grounds to believe that this was a deliberate, planned damage to the vessel. Two holes were punched in two places on the hull, practically at the same level. It turned out that they could have been drilled or punched with a tool. Both emergency hatches were also open. According to safety requirements, they should never be used at sea. The only reason for this might be an emergency escape in an emergency situation. The fact that these hatches were open suggested that they had been left open intentionally. This condition could have caused the catamaran to sink, but the weather conditions and waves were such that little water got into the hull. Lewis himself never mentioned in his communication with the Coast Guard and experts that he had opened these hatches, but for an experienced captain this could not have gone unnoticed. It was doubtful that his wife could have opened them. Why would she need to? The investigation also revealed that Bennett did not activate his personal beacon or satellite phone while he was in Cuba. All of the above are important safety measures at sea, but the man did not use them during the entire honeymoon, which lasted more than 2 weeks. Instead, these measures were used directly at the moment of his escape from the sinking catamaran. This was strange, as there is no communication in many places in open waters. The only way to keep yourself safe in an emergency is with a satellite phone. A rescue beacon and beacon allow you to indicate the location of the wreck or the location of the victims, but they were not used either. All of this seemed very strange and dubious. Experienced investigators suggested that the man deliberately did not use these rescue devices because he had done something to his wife and was trying to hide it by sinking the vessel. The ability to operate a catamaran would have allowed the captain to easily turn and launch the sinking process. The open emergency hatches and internal damage designed to sink the vessel spoke eloquently to this. The rescue devices were only launched at the final stage of the journey, when the man was fleeing, which meant that his wife did not have such beacons. This meant that she could be anywhere in the open sea. The investigation even had a version that she remained on the board of the catamaran when it sank, but it was impossible to verify this version. By May 17, 2017, the Coast Guard continued to search the waters to find signs of Isabella. It became known that the catamaran eventually sank to a depth of more than 1,200 meters, and there was no technical possibility to raise it. To this day, the catamaran remains at the bottom. Investigators had very little information about what happened, which raised suspicion. They knew that the woman was short, slender, and was wearing light clothing at the time of her disappearance. The maximum time one could survive in the water under such conditions were no more than 13 hours, and that time had already passed. This was also due to the worsening weather conditions. As it was getting colder, the wind had picked up to 30 kilometers per hour and the water temperature had dropped on May 17. Rescuers had been searching for the body for more than 120 hours. It was no longer possible to find the woman alive. There was simply no chance for Isabella's survival, so the rescue operation was changed to a search operation. They were looking for her body. On May 18, 2017, the search for Isabella Bennett was discontinued due to lack of any results. To this day, the woman's body has not been found. Meanwhile, on May 15 at 11:30 a.m., the family met Lewis in Boca Raton, Florida. They helped him pack his things and prepare for his departure, which was scheduled after May 19. Law enforcement officers conducted searches and once again checked all of the man's belongings. It was strange because his wife had recently disappeared, but he didn't seem to care. He didn't even take a single thing from the boat with him, as if he knew they wouldn't be needed anymore. The only thing that seemed to worry him was documentary confirmation of her death. Bennett asked the police for a death certificate so that he could later receive insurance for the deceased, but he was denied on May 20. Lewis bought 2 tickets to Great Britain for himself and his daughter Amelia. He visited his wife's family to pick up his daughter. Isabella's relatives, who were skeptical of his story, refused. They believed that Lewis was responsible for Isabella's disappearance and had done something to her to collect insurance. The man called the police, who took the girl from the family and gave her to her father. Lewis was indeed acting strangely. Not only was he too calm and not at all upset by the disappearance of his young wife, he did not participate in the search for her, but immediately contacted the insurance company to claim life insurance benefits. But he was also denied this. Soon, these suspicions arose among the police as well, but Lewis denied all accusations against him. On May 28, Lewis and his daughter flew to Great Britain. Later, the man returned, but without his daughter. He handed the girl over to his relatives and later saw Isabella's family. His actions caused a storm of criticism, as the relatives on the mother's side would not be able to see the girl. They filed a lawsuit to fight for the right to communicate with her. Meanwhile, the police continued to investigate the mysterious disappearance of the young woman. Detective questioned numerous witnesses and gained access to the suspect's mobile phone. This revealed that there was more going on behind the scene of their marriage than it seemed at first glance. According to the missing woman's loved ones, Lewis communicated little with his wife and daughter. He regularly left unexpectedly without warning anyone, usually for the Caribbean islands. During this period, it was difficult to contact him. In general, it seemed that he played a minor role in the life of his daughter. Witnesses noted that his communication with his wife was always strained. He would pick on her about literally everything, insult her, and humiliate her in every way. He used any minor event to insult Isabella. The couple even slept in separate rooms. The partners' correspondence showed that they were not just having strained relations, they were gradually falling apart. The woman complained that his constant nitpicking was getting to her. She was not perfect, but she clearly didn't deserve such treatment. In later dialogues, she said she was afraid of her husband and he constantly took his anger out on her. From the end of 2016, Isabella increasingly talked about breaking up, but at the same time, she held out hope for saving the relationship. On December 5th, Isabella told her husband that he urgently needed to change his behavior. If his behavior couldn't be changed, then a breakup was inevitable. In the spring of 2017, Lewis began to have financial problems. All of this only exacerbated the existing misunderstanding and accumulated tension in the family. During a search of the couple's home, police found several recording devices. It turned out that Isabella was so afraid of her partner that she recorded most of their dialogues. Police found numerous testimonies that the man had threatened his wife. And after he started having money problems, his anger was multiplied many times over. In Australia, he owed about 2,000 Australian dollars for real estate. He had his electricity cut off at home due to the non-payment of bills. Bennett did not pay on his credit card and accumulated a debt of several $1,000s, which he tried to repay. Lewis even tried to force his wife to leave maternity and go to work. The woman refused. She wanted to take care of the household and raise her daughter. Despite the accumulated financial difficulties, Lewis was in no hurry to resolve them and work. Instead, he continued to enjoy life. The man flew to Thailand, where he enrolled in a Thai boxing academy and trained. In fact, Isabella was alone raising her daughter and complained to her loved ones that she felt like a single mother. The investigation revealed that between 2014 and 2016, Lewis made international transfers totaling about 160,000 Australian dollars. The gold and silver coins found in his backpack when rescuers helped him reach shore were from a vessel called Kitty. They disappeared from the ship while it was docked in the port of St. Martin. Lewis was a friend of the captain and was on board on May 5, 2016. All crew members went into town, and upon returning, the captain discovered that the vessel had been looted. In addition to the coins found with Lewis himself, a significant number of coins were also found in his apartment. Later, it became known that he was smuggling these coins. At the time of the discovery, the total amount transported was estimated at $38,000. However, the investigation found that he was not the one who looted Kitty. A crew member of the ship was found guilty, and Bennett was only involved in their transportation and sale. Nevertheless, on February 12, 2018, Lewis was arrested on charges of smuggling. He pleaded guilty to transporting stolen property in interstate commerce in an amount exceeding $2,000. As a result, on February 20, he was sentenced to 7 months in prison. At the same time, the man was charged with second-degree murder. The prosecution was sure that he was behind the murder of his wife. In their opinion, Lewis did not even try to help his wife, but simply escaped on a raft from the sinking catamaran. It was suspicious that such an experienced sailor did not even try to save his catamaran, although it could clearly have been brought to port and repaired. He only had to take a few simple steps to save his vessel. Lewis, for some reason, did not do this, but simply escaped. The prosecutor suggested that during this trip his wife found contraband in the form of coins on board. This could have caused a heated argument between the couple. Given that their relationship had been strained for a long time and Lewis was prone to violence and cruelty, he could have simply killed his wife in a fit of anger and then staged the whole thing as an accident and sunk the boat, for which he received insurance benefits. It turned out that it was more profitable for him to get insurance than to repair the boat. Lewis himself admitted that he didn't even look for his wife on board, and when he saw the leak in the catamaran, he only thought about saving his own life. He spent a full 45 minutes gathering valuables and moving to the raft, while not spending a minute searching for his daughter's mother. The prosecutor emphasized that he could have done something to save his wife's life and search for her, but none of that was done. Criminal negligence or malice was the cause of the young woman's death. The missing woman's family insisted that it was not an accident, and Lewis got rid of Isabella intentionally for money and property. However, there was not enough evidence and justification for this. Even the woman's body was never found. Therefore, the prosecution offered the defendant a plea deal to reduce the sentence, which he eventually accepted. The victim's family was categorically against the deal, but later agreed to it in order to hold Lewis accountable in some way in the absence of serious evidence of his actions. In November 2018, as part of the plea deal, the 41-year-old Lewis Bennett pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and received only 8 years in prison. Isabella was declared dead by court order. Isabella's property, which the widower claimed after his disappearance, as well as the insurance payout, went to her daughter, who is being raised by the deceased's relatives. Throughout his prison sentence, Bennett complained about the living conditions in the prison and the difficulties he faced behind bars. Nevertheless, he will be released in a few years. Our video has come to an end. If you want to see more interesting content, subscribe to our channel and press the bell to not miss the new release.